Summary of Cold Mountain by Charles Frazier. In the last months of the Civil War, we meet two characters: Inman, a Confederate soldier who is in the hospital after fighting in Petersburg and Fredericksburg, and Ada Monroe, a beautiful young woman who lives alone on a huge farm after her father, Monroe, dies. Ada and Inman both live in the town of Black Cove, which is near Cold Mountain. As Inman tries to get back to Black Cove and Ada tries to stay alive there, the story jumps back and forth between them. Inman slowly gets stronger and then leaves the hospital, even though he has a big cut on his neck. He has nightmares about his time in the war, and he wants to see Ada as soon as possible because he is so attracted to her. As he slowly walks home, he thinks back to the first time he saw Ada. It was in the church where her father worked. Inman gets into a fight on the road with three guys who want to know where he's going. The men try to hurt Inman, but he fights them off. They chase him to a river, where they shoot holes in the boat he's using to get to the other side. Inman is also afraid that the Home Guard, a group of Confederate soldiers who can arrest and kill deserters, will attack him. Inman is legally a deserter. Ada and her loving father lived in Charleston for most of Ada's life, but when Ada was a teenager, they moved to Black Cove so that Monroe could become a preacher. Ada was taught to live a quiet life of books and music. Now that Monroe is dead and she is still not married, she is slowly dying of hunger. When her neighbors Sally and Esco Swanger send a young woman named Ruby Thews to live with Ada, things change for her. Ruby is a good farmer and works hard. She and Ada agree to take care of the land as if they were equals. Ada can't believe how hard she has to work to stay alive. Inman meets a strange priest named Solomon Vesey. Vesey is bringing a young woman who is pregnant by him. Inman makes Vesey send Laura, the young woman, back to her home. After that, Inman spends the night with a group of wandering gypsies and steals food from a group of beautiful women bathing in the river. Soon after that, Inman runs into Vesey again. Vesey keeps going in the same way as Inman because he thinks that if he stays around any longer, he will be killed. During this time, Inman thinks back to his first times with Ada, like when he put his head on her lap at a Christmas party 4 years ago. When Inman and Vesey go to a brothel, Vesey tries to have sex with a black woman named Tildy but fails. Vesey and Inman also meet an old peddler named Odell. Odell says that he owns a huge wealth in Georgia, but it's likely that he'll never be able to get it. Over time, Ada and Ruby get to know each other well. Ada finds out that Ruby's father is a bad guy called Stowbroad Thews. Ruby was just a kid when Stowbroad left her, so she has been taking care of herself for almost as long as she can remember. Ada tells Ruby about her own youth. She says that her mother, Claire Deschutes, said no to Monroe when he asked her to marry him the first time, but later changed her mind. She later died when she gave birth to Ada. In town, Ruby and Ada meet a prisoner who tells them that the Home Guard, led by a man named Teague, took him in and abused him. Even though the prisoner was fighting in the war, he tried to quit in the middle of it and was punished for his crime. Junior is trying to get a dead bull out of a stream when Inman and Vesey meet him. They join Junior for dinner after helping him with his job. Inman finds out that Junior is an abusive husband and father when he goes to Junior's house. He also thinks that Junior may be giving his guests human meat. Inman meets Junior's daughter, Lula, who is half black, and Junior's wife, Lila, who is white. Lila gets Inman drunk, which makes Inman want to have sexual relations with her. Junior bursts in and points a gun at Inman. He had brought Inman and Vesey into his house so he could arrest them and hand them over to the Home Guard. Junior is drunk and makes Vesey marry Inman to Lila. The Home Guard then comes and marches Inman and Vesey into the woods. Both Inman and Vesey are shot by riders from the Home Guard. Vesey dies from his injuries, but Inman somehow stays alive. He crawls back to the road and gets strong enough to walk again. To get back at Junior, Inman sneaks back to his house. There, he gets back the things he left behind, like a gun and money. He hits Junior over the head with the barrel of the gun and then walks back to the road. Back in Black Cove, Ada thinks back to one of the last times she saw Inman before he left to fight. Inman, who was quiet and thought about things a lot, told Ada a long story about the lost Native American city of Cayuga. A long time ago, a stranger came to Cayuga and told the people there that he was from the land of shining rocks. The stranger told the people of Cayuga to go to the shining rocks, but he also said that a dangerous enemy would soon take over their land. People chose to follow the mysterious stranger's advice, so they went to the shining rocks and found a bright cave there. People were confused, so they went back home, where they were quickly taken over. Ada didn't know what this story was all about. She said something silly to Inman and then left, but she soon felt bad about what she had said. Before Inman left, she saw him one last time and gave him a powerful kiss. When Inman finds an old woman, she takes him in and takes care of his wounds. The woman feeds Inman and tells him to rest until he feels much better. After that, Inman stays with Sarah, a young woman whose husband, Jonathan, has died. Sarah is caught by Union troops in the middle of the night, and they threaten to kill her baby. Inman finds the troops and kills them. He gives Sarah back the things they stole. Stobrod Thews comes back to Ruby in Black Cove after leaving the army and asks Ada and Ruby to take him in. He plays a beautiful fiddle for them, and Ada, feeling sorry for him, lets him stay with them. Later, Stobrod brings two deserters to stay with Ruby and Ada. One is called Pangle, and the other is named Reed. Ruby doesn't like Stobrod being there, but she lets the guests stay. Not long after that, the Home Guard attacks Stobrod and Pangle in the woods. Pangle is killed, and Stobrod is hurt. Reed tells Ada and Ruby what happened. He was just out of sight when the Home Guardsmen struck. The three of them go up into the woods, where they find Stobrod barely holding on to life. Ada and Ruby take care of Stobrod and try to get him well enough to carry down to Black Cove. As Inman gets closer to Cold Mountain, he thinks about what it will be like to see Ada again. When he goes back to Cold Mountain, he is surprised to find Ada taking care of Stobrod. Ada doesn't know Inman at first, but when she does, she hugs him and takes him back to Stobrod and Ruby. Inman and Ada make passionate love and talk about what they did when they weren't together. Ada and Inman agree that the best way to keep Inman safe is for him to go north, give up to the Federals, and wait until the war is over. Ruby and Ada go back to Black Cove, while Inman and Stobrod, who have been healed, move north. But while Inman and Stobrod are still in the woods, the Home Guards attack them. Stobrod manages to get away, but Inman charges the guardsmen and kills three of them. The last guardsman runs away from Inman, and Inman chases after him. Inman catches his enemy in the woods, where he finds out that the horseman is just a boy of about 15 years old. The boy shoots and then runs away from Inman. Before Ruby and Ada run to find Inman after hearing gunshots, Inman is already dead. In an epilogue that takes place in 1874, we see that Ruby and Ada's small town is still doing well. Ruby and Ada farm and Stobrod play music. Ruby married Reed, and they now have 3 kids. Ada has lost Inman, but she has a 9-year-old child who she probably had with Inman right before he died. Ada's days are filled with taking care of her child and doing the things that need to be done on a farm.
About the author. North Carolina is where Charles Frazier grew up. During his youth, his parents took him all over the South. His memories of places like Appalachia, Georgia, Louisiana, and Alabama had a big impact on his writing. Frazier was good at writing and sharing stories from a young age, and by the time he graduated from the University of North Carolina in 1973, he knew he wanted to be a writer. Frazier then went to Appalachian State University to study writing. In 1986, the University of South Carolina gave him a PhD in English literature. Frazier had a number of odd jobs over the next 10 years while he worked on the book that would become Cold Mountain. Frazier finished the book in 1997 and was able to sell it to Atlantic Monthly Press. The book was a big surprise. It sold more than 3 million copies and won Frazier the National Book Award, which is probably the most important award for fiction in the United States. Anthony Minghella turned the book into a movie that won an Academy Award in 2003. Frazier's second book, 13 Moons, came out in 2006. His third, Nightwoods, came out in 2011. Together with his wife and daughter, he lives in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.